Let's make a clay pinch pot owl. What we'll need to do is take a ball of clay and use different clay techniques to turn it into an owl. First, I'm going to take some of my ball of clay and separate it off for the wings and other details. Then, with the rest of my clay, I'm going to use my hands and mostly the inside part of my palm and start to try to roll and coax the clay into a ball. I want to do this slowly so I don't have very many cracks or holes in the clay. I can also use my fingers to grip and round out the ball. A rolling motion like this can be helpful sometimes, and then you can grip it and rotate the clay to make sure it's becoming a ball nice and evenly. Then, once the clay is pretty much a sphere, you can take your two thumbs or one thumb and start to press into the middle of the clay. That's how we're going to make our pinch pot. Then I want to start squeezing in a circle. The rounder that this is, the better it will work in the long run. I have very long fingers, fingernails, which is kind of working against me. It's making those little marks. So if you have short fingernails, that's an advantage. But you can do it either way. And then I'm just continually squeezing in a circle. I'm starting by squeezing near the bottom of the clay and leaving the rim thicker, because I know this part is going to be harder to reach as my pinch pot pole gets thicker. And I don't want to make it too thin. I want the walls to still be able to support itself. So once I think the bottom is thin enough, then I'm squeezing near the edges. And this really isn't taking me too long because I have a lot of practice. But it's okay if yours doesn't look like mine, because this is very likely to be your first time doing this. Sometimes the clay might crack a little bit, and if it does that, use your fingers, just your fingers, to start smoothing it back together. If you use water or something to smooth cracks, sometimes it can introduce more problems down the road. Alright, so that's looking pretty good for my pinch pot. That's going to be the body of my owl. So I'm going to set it on the table, and my owl will actually kind of look at you like this. So I'm going to choose one of these edges that I like best for the front of the owl, and I think that I'm going to choose this side. Then I'll take the rest of my clay, and I'm going to separate another big chunk. This will be the two wings, and this will be the eyes and the beak. I'm going to separate this into two little wing shapes, and I'm going to roll them into little shapes that I think are good for the wing. And it could just be like an oval, or it could be a pointy oval, kind of like a teardrop. There's no right or wrong way to do it. Art is about trying new things and experimenting, and we haven't worked with clay very much, so it's okay if it's not perfect. This is a learning experience. This is the first time you're trying it. The first time you try something is usually not perfect, and that's okay. I'm going to keep my wings even though they're not exactly the same. Now, to attach my wings to the pinch pot base, I have to use a technique that'll make the clay secure. So I'm going to take a tool and I'm going to scratch some little lines into the side of my owl and into the side of my wing. This technique is called scratch and slip. We want to rough up the clay so it ends up locking together like a puzzle piece. But this is just the scratching. Then we need slip. Slip is a mixture of clay and water. So I'm going to take some of my slip. There's my slip. Put it on and then stick it and smooth it down. Smoothing it down can be really important. Then I'll attach my other wing the same way. Alright, I've got my two wings on my owl. And now's a good time if I want to add any designs or decorations I could. So if I wanted to, I could use this stick tool to draw some little feathers in. That's an option. You can choose different types of clay might be easier to decorate, and we can always also think about decorations on another day when we finish these with whatever color or surface treatment we decide to use. You might notice I'm working on this mat. It's very important that we don't get the clay stuck to the table because that can be an issue. So that's why we're keeping all of our clay on top of this at all times. Then I'm going to take my last pieces of clay and make a beak and two eyes. I'm going to start with a ball for the beak and a ball for the eyes. Same way to attach, I have to scratch and score. I'm gonna scratch this side. These are gonna be my eyes, so I flattened them a little bit. And I can practice lining them up on the owl. Maybe about there, and the beak will be down there. It's kind of like a cartoon style owl, and that's okay. Get the clay slip. And then I have to really squeeze down. If I don't squeeze, they won't stay. I think I'm going to make a little decoration in the eye with the back of my tool here. There we go. It's like a little pupil. And the beak. Can't forget about the beak. I'm going to try to pinch the beak into a triangle shape with my fingers. And I might put it on kind of like that. So I'm going to make some of my scratch marks. Get some slip. And the most important thing is that firm connection. I have to get it really super hard pressed on. So I'm going to really press from both sides. I'm supporting the inside of my pinch pot and smoothing it down. And there we go. Now I have a pinch pot clay owl. The other most important thing is knowing whose owl is whose. For this project, on the inside of my pinch pot, I'm going to write my first name. So my first name is Laura. So that's what I would write. I'm really taking my time to be super slow and careful, and I'm also writing it gently so I don't poke through the pinch pot. We want to be super slow and secure, but I do want to make sure I add my name so we know whose this is. And if it's on the inside, then I won't see it and it won't mess up the design on the outside. Okay, so there I have my name, all of the letters, and now my owl is done.